大家上午好。Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. 欢迎来到第5届中澳经贸峰会 Melbourne Session. Welcome to the 5th Australia-China Economic and Trade Summit Melbourne Session. 我是今天的主持人龚之洲 Oscar。
大家好，我是主持人丁晨潇。非常荣幸与各位齐聚在墨尔本皇冠度假酒店，共同见证本届峰会以双向奔赴、共同发展为主题，展开中澳之间又一次高层次的交流。Hello everyone, I'm your co-host Chen Xiao. It is a great privilege to gather here at the Crown Plaza, Melbourne, and witness another high-level exchange between Australia and China under the theme Mutual Progress, Shared Future.
首先，让我们以热烈的掌声欢迎本次峰会主办机构澳中经济科技文化促进会会长周大伟太平绅士为本届峰会宣布开幕致辞。First, let's warmly welcome Mr. David Zhou, JP, President of the Australian-China Economic, Technology, Cultural Promotion Association, to deliver the summit open and deliver the welcome speech. Welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. 各位来宾，早上好。首先，我要欢迎和感谢各位尊敬的贵宾，感谢维多利亚州前议员布鲁斯·阿特金森 ，Thank you coming。感谢墨尔本市国人感谢湖南市议员，他没来啊？来了吗？他要做那个嘉宾主持的，没来啊？哦，还没到啊？这出来先maybe too much traffic。我们还要感谢前市长那个罗伯特钟 ，Thank you coming，Thank you take a time，Thank you very much。我还要感谢我们来自中国的企业嘉宾。因为有你们大家各位嘉宾的到来，使我们的会场蓬荜生辉。我们人不需要多，花香不在多，盛雅何须大。今天很好，谢谢你们 ，Thank you very much。我们第5届中澳经贸峰会移师墨尔本举办，是一次尝试，也是给自己的一次学习的机会。借此机会，向墨尔本各机构、各商协会、各企业进行沟通和学习，通过此次的学习，使我们能够更好地搭建中澳经贸交流合作的平台。我们20多年坚持不懈地搭建中澳经贸交流的平台和合作。我们旨在促进中澳企业之间的了解和友谊，因为澳中友好，利国利民。谢谢大家 ，Thank you everyone， Thank you。
非常感谢周会长的精彩致辞。接下来呢，进入到我们峰会的重要环节——澳大利亚政要致辞。今天我们荣幸地邀请到了多位来自维州联邦政府的重量级嘉宾，他们的长期支持是推动中澳经贸文化交流的重要力量。Thank you, President Zhou, for your warm welcome speech. Next, we move to one of the key sessions, speeches from Australian government representatives. Today, we are honored to have several distinguished representatives from both federal and state governments. 首先有请澳大利亚维州前议长 Bruce Atkinson 上台致辞，掌声有请。
Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here today at what is a quite important forum. And I congratulate the sponsors and obviously the organisers of this event for bringing people together to discuss the very important relationship that China and Australia have, and in my case, particularly Victoria and China. Do you know, some time ago I was asked what I had in common with my wife, And I thought for a bit, and I said, we got married on the same day. In this room, we have a lot more in common. In this room, some of the things that we can talk about, and we're already working towards, are very much in the interests of both China and Australia. And you'll forgive me if I mostly concentrate on Victoria. I understand you've got a federal representative coming. Who's that? Who's the federal person? Don't know? I don't know them either. Can I say that I don't want to go through a whole lot of statistics because I think most of you are already aware, you've already studied some of the relationship that we have between Victoria and China, or Australia and China. You all know that over 300 million Australian dollars is part of the two-way trade. For Australia, that's around 30% of our total trade, two-way, export and import globally. Victoria is a relatively small percentage of that because much of that trade is obviously in mining and minerals. But indeed, Victoria is a very important state in the relationship with China because our economy is a tertiary economy. Our economy is in areas like agribusiness, medical research, biomedical research, food and beverage, obviously, is part of the agribusiness context, but also education. We're very strong in terms of visitor reception, strong in sport, strong in culture, strong in those areas that are so important to a sustainable relationship between Victoria and China. Things like financial services and investment. Real estate is very important in this state. As many of you would be aware, this is a very significant time. Australia and China's relationship has gone through some difficult times. But long term, China is a strong friend of Australia. Always was, always will be, and certainly is now. And in recent times, we've had the Prime Minister of Australia go to China and meet with President Xi and talk about the relationship. Talk about some of the issues that concern Australia, because we're not going to agree on everything, but also to consider the opportunities. We've had the the Premier, Jacinda Allen, also lead a delegation to China. And on her trip to China, she released a new China strategy, a 5-year strategy, to define the relationship between Victoria and China and to identify some of the opportunities that we have going forward. There was a third visit. The Lord Mayor of Melbourne, City of Melbourne delegation, also went to China, and I think went to 5 cities in China, is that correct? 4. You've lost your thumb. 4 cities in China, and they also went to Japan. But one of the people on that trip was Gladys Liu, Councillor of the City of Melbourne and a former federal Member of Parliament. In fact, the first Chinese Member of Parliament in Australia's history. So Gladys, I don't know if she's got an opportunity this morning to tell you a little bit about that trip, but certainly each of those 3 delegations to China represent a very significant step forward in terms of looking at opportunities together in what is a fairly uncertain, unsettled world. What President Trump's doing and not doing is causing a great deal of concern globally. He's certainly a disruptor. He's had a significant impact on world trade. And one of my daughters is not very happy with him because her shares have plummeted in the last week. He is causing a great deal of uncertainty. But there are 2 sides to that. One of them is to say, well, you know, we're in trouble. We can't build relationships because we don't know what's happening. The other is to look at how we can create more stable relationships, how we can look to diversify some of our relationships globally, how we can reappraise our global trading. And certainly in Australia, China has a reliable partner. China has a partner that is politically stable. When we have elections, nobody dies. We have a simple passing of the baton if there's a change of government. And by and large, most of our foreign policy, in fact, is shared by the two major parties that form government in Australia. So there's stability. There's a process where the economy is a sound economy, based on significant resources in particular. And I know that some of our visitors from China, and I welcome them today, are certainly interested in the mining industry. The mining industry represents, and West Australia in particular as one of the state jurisdictions, represent the most significant amount of our export trade with China, and indeed with some other countries in that region like South Korea and Japan. But the relationship with China is so important. I've had the opportunity of going to China twice in the last 2 months. And the businesses that I meet, so many of them are looking to come to Australia and invest in Australia. They're looking at perhaps starting up manufacturing businesses here. And certainly part of the Victorian government and the Australian government's priority is to try and re-establish some of our manufacturing base here in Australia. Because we've allowed that to wind down over a number of years. Perhaps we've had too much reliance on the dirt that we dig up in West Australia or Queensland. We need to be doing more in terms of processing products here. One of the key areas I think that I was discussing recently at a seminar, and that I've certainly looked at in China, has been that of health and well-being. A key priority for Victoria, along with aged care, which is part of that well-being, the life sciences. Victoria has 3 of the most significant precincts in the world for biomedical research. They've also been upset by some of Trump's decisions, because indeed, with his anger with universities in the United States, particularly Harvard, he's actually cut funding for research. And some of those research partnerships were in fact with Victoria. They're vital, those research projects. Vital in terms of looking at things like Alzheimer's disease, at cancer, at diabetes, at MND and so many other things that we still haven't conquered in terms of medical science. But whilst the West is pursuing projects and certainly has had significant impact on the health of the global community, so too China has a very significant and very long history, a heritage in terms of medical treatment, particularly proactive or preventative medicine. The traditional medicine and practices such as acupuncture and so forth are so significant in terms of supporting lifestyles and ensuring good health. What we need to be seeing more of is actually a merging of those two areas. What we need to be doing is sharing some of our common interest in making sure that our aged care, our senior citizens, are looked after with dignity and in terms of support for their health and well-being. And certainly aged care has become a more significant issue for China as we come downstream from the one-child policy. We haven't got it all right here in Australia, but we certainly have made some significant changes to the way that we approach aged care. And for that matter, some of the related things such as mental health, which includes dementia. Together, collaborating in that field is a significant challenge, but also a great opportunity, and one that I think we should be exploring going forward. One of the key things with China that has held back some of the investment from Australian companies, and probably also held back some of the Chinese investment, because at the moment, in terms of foreign investment, China is the 13th largest investor in Australia. That would surprise a lot of people because the media suggests that China's taken over Australia. It is simply not true. In terms of land ownership, it's less than 2% of Australia's land is actually owned by Chinese entities. I think this needs to be more investment from China. I think that there are areas where we need to work together in terms of China being the solution to many of Australia's problems and challenges, including energy. Whilst we're potentially an energy-rich country, we are not really achieving the outcomes that we need to going forward. And China has many of those solutions, particularly in solar and wind and battery storage and so forth. China is part of our solution for energy. China is part of our solution increasingly for housing and for building development. Together we can do so much more in collaboration on areas like climate change. And Australia and China need to work together in that area. China is a relatively large polluter like the United States. And that's because China has had to grow very quickly to bring people out of poverty. And that has been such an extraordinary achievement in human history. But China is also very much aware, because it's connected very much to the natural environment, is very much aware of the need to address the economics as much as the sustainability of our lifestyles, of the way we live, of the way we produce product, of the way people are able to enjoy a good life and a productive life. Victoria or Australia and China must do more together. Whilst Trump's off on his folly and saying, well, we're not interested in climate change, in fact saying we don't even believe in climate change, he must be very selective with the television he watches, because every night my television has floods, droughts, all sorts of issues that are affecting the global community. And we've got to work not just on energy, which is so much the focus of discussion about climate change. We've also got to work on things like food security. We've got to work on mitigation. You know, in Australia we have this ridiculous situation where we have floods. There's a place called Lismore in New South Wales. Used to flood about every 5 to 7 years. Now it's flooding almost every year. And people go back and build their house in exactly the same place. Same with some of the bushfires. Building in exactly the same places. Looking at some of our coastal communities that are now under threat with housing because the land is and the beachfront is being eroded. We need to be looking at that mitigation as well. We can do that together. And our contribution from Australia's point of view with our research, our technology, our commitment, combined with China's outstanding production capacity, the fact that it has developed so many new innovations, it's the biggest patent register of any country in the world today. It's, in many areas, leapfrogged America. And the reality is that those two combined can tackle some of the great global issues. Other ones include technology and AI. AI, a fantastic opportunity going forward, but also fraught with all sorts of problems if we don't manage that technology properly. And we already see some of the bad actors using technology and looking forward to using AI in an even greater way to scam people, to commit fraudulent acts and so forth. We need to be working together on those sorts of issues going forward. The opportunities are manifold. The opportunities for Australia and Victoria and Australia going forward are significant. Already those three delegations represent a very significant approach by Australia in expressing its commitment to the relationship. And certainly we have high-level Chinese officials also, either having come already or planning to come in the next year or so. This is greenfields. This is massive opportunity going forward. Today's conference is one of those extra steps in terms of building confidence, building understanding, identifying opportunities, establishing partnerships, establishing even just friendships to take us forward in our bilateral relationship. Thank you for having me this morning. It's a great pleasure to have been here and to make some remarks that I hope you will find useful. Remember, we all didn't get married on the same day, but we do have a lot in common and a lot of things to explore together in our relationship going forward. 谢谢。
非常感谢 Bruce 先生的精彩演讲 ，Thank you, Bruce。接下来我们有请墨尔本市议员廖婵娥女士进行演讲 ，Welcome。
Good morning, everyone. I'm just so honored to do a speech after Bruce. So, Bruce, after 30 years in Parliament, he's still so passionate about doing things for the community, and especially in the Australia-China relationship, the passion that Bruce has shown to us this morning is really inspiring. I got inspired by his thoughts, his ideas, and I think he has taken a few pages of my speech note as well. Now I will not speak in English for the sake of the room this morning. Just forgive me. I will now switch into Chinese. 大家好，我是廖婵娥议员。今天我非常荣幸受到的主办方的邀请，特别是过来支持我们的Philip Tree 主席。而且呢，在这里呢，我也非常的欢迎来自我们的新州的朋友，就是我们的周大伟会长以及我们的黄红女士。还有呢，特别的欢迎的，就是从国内来的我们的所有的企业家，参加这一个峰会。同时呢，我们的这个市议员，在 Manningham 的 Anna Chen 也很高兴。我几乎每次出席活动的时候呢，都见到你，你可以说是我们最勤劳的一个议员之一了，非常好。同时呢，在座的各位有很多都是老朋友， 今天非常的荣幸，可以来这个峰会。同时呢，刚才我们听到，我们前议长Bruce Atkinson 他的讲话里面都有好多很好的意见。同时呢，我发现他可能呢把我的演讲稿呢都看了一遍了，把我想说的他都说了。但是呢，我还是要强调几个事情的。第一个呢，就是澳中的贸易关系。我们是在这一年来呢，可以说呢是做得非常非常的好。刚才 Bruce 也提到，不单只是总理、联邦的层面有双方的交流，同时呢，这个州长也率领了议员一起到中国去。刚刚在9月份的时候，我们市政府包括了市长还有我本人，我们呢去考察了4个城市。那么我们呢就不是单单自己去，我们是有带着一群这些企业家一起过去的。主要呢有3个方面，一个呢是教育的领域，另外一个呢就是医疗科技，还有呢就是创新科技。那这3个呢，也是我们 Melbourne 非常重视的。当然，我们 Melbourne 是全球最受学生欢迎的一个城市。这个呢，已经是过去11年都是这个领头的这个位置。同时呢，我们 Melbourne 呢也是唯一一个城市是有 Grand Prix and Grand Slam 2个世界上最大的体育赛事。作为 Melbourne 市的市议员，我感到非常的骄傲，因为呢有这个平台可以来推动更好的中澳两边的这个发展。在过去那么多年里面，我们都看到呢，就是有起有落，但是呢，现在呢，我们在这个往上走的这个势头，所以今天这个峰会就最合时宜，来把我们大家在座的这个想法，还有你们的实际的操作，我们都可以好好的来交流。政府的支持肯定是重要的，但是呢，没有企业家的支持，没有实干的企业家来实际的操作的话呢，所有政府的计划呢都没办法实行。所以今天我希望大家好好的利用这个机会来互相的交流，互相的把怎么样可以推动更好的澳中贸易关系，更好的来带更多的人来我们的墨尔本，美丽的墨尔本。如果你这一次是你第一次来墨尔本的话呢，我们这边有好多都是世界有名的，包括刚才我们的 Bruce Atkinson 先生已经提到的这些在各个领域我们都有非常好环境还有文化还有好多，特别是人。我本人住在 Melbourne 已经40年了，一直都住在这边，原因就是 Melbourne 真的是一个美丽的城市，人是最重要的一环，都是友善。全球的友善指数 ，Melbourne 是全球第一的 ，number one 的。而且呢，在 inclusiveness 就是包容方面呢，我们现在全球是 number 2这个呢我们会继续的努力。当然，这个最宜居的城市一直都是排在前5名的。好嘞，我说了好多关于 Melbourne 的事情，今天再回到这个峰会。今天我希望大家可以更好的来把你们专长的这些领域都可以无私的来分享，然后来创造更好、更美丽的澳中贸易关系。在这里我就不多说了，时间关系我希望大家有一个很好的交流，谢谢大家。
谢谢廖女士的精彩演讲。接下来我们有请澳洲中华总商会会长 Alex 林致辞，有请。
Good morning, everybody. I'll speak in English then. It's my privilege to be here this morning, and thank you, Philip, for inviting me, to giving me this opportunity on this platform on the 5th Australia-China Economic Trade Summit. I'd like to differ a little bit on this topic. I'd like to stress also just not on Australia-China economic relationship. I'd like to take from the angle from the business-to-business point of view. After all, I'm representing the Chinese Chamber of Commerce that represent the Australian Chinese businesses that is operating in Australia. As we know that Australian population is rather small compared to China, but there's another angle that Bruce was mentioning, is that the current economic challenges has caused us to rethink how we conduct our businesses, not just merely Australia-China, but the other big component is ASEAN. And I think that with this tripartite relationship, these three angles that you're looking at is from China, ASEAN, and Australia. And if we can perhaps focus on this relationship, especially from the Australian-Chinese businesses' point of view, we can tap on both markets as well. And after all, China is also focusing on ASEAN as well. So that's why in recent ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur, you see ASEAN, and even Donald Trump actually came to ASEAN to participate. It goes to show the importance of the angle that both China and America has placed emphasis on this region. After all, it represents 600 million people in that region. I encourage, even from the members of the Chinese Chamber, is that to focus your businesses, especially Chinese businesses that has migrated over to Australia, using your strength, using your relationship in China to actually divert some of your focuses from Australia to ASEAN as well. And with this big block that we have, we will encourage and we'll see a lot of diversification that we can position ourselves from Australia perspective. Second thing, as much as we want to encourage a lot of foreign investments, be it ASEAN, be it China, I think our government needs to be more proactive in encouraging policies that allow foreign investments. As we know that, I'm not mentioning the politicians and former politicians who are here, they'll know that how restrictive some of the policies are to encourage Chinese investments into Australia. And this is something that we, the Australian Chinese community here, has a voice to participate, especially to determine what kind of foreign policies that is required. Otherwise, we can be having lots of summit here, but if the policies that are so restrictive, it's pointless even to discuss any further. As what Bruce has mentioned, Chinese investment, especially in the real estate sector, especially in the agriculture of land, agricultural land, is only 2% compared to the other Western investors, United States, United Kingdom, and Canada. So this is something that is an eye-opener for us as the Chinese community here to make more realistic representation, so that the foreign policies towards foreign investment is far more positive. I'll rest my case here, and then we'll have further discussion, maybe perhaps in a panel forum. Thank you very much.
好的，非常感谢您的发言 ，Thank you for your speech。那么下面让我们有请原白马市两届市长 Robert 传为我们致辞 ，Welcome。
大家好。I just want to add one more point about Bruce Atkinson. As a mayor, I attend many functions. I would say Bruce Atkinson is so popular, he would attend 10 times more than I do. In that respect, I hope Australia or the government will appreciate his knowledge and allow him to sit on some board. Because some of the board think tank, I would say, they're very narrow-minded and not very friendly to China. And our previous speakers spoke, it's a lot of restriction on Chinese investment. But one thing, we are still lucky in Australia. In America, you could be arrested for doing business with China because they will come up with some sort of thing that you are having some sort of security, and then you will be sent to court. So in Australia, we are we can still do business, and as our friends say, we should come out and speak more often. And I hope Bruce next time more lucky and get into some board position. Now I come back to my speech. First, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us to provide your experience and expertise for the summit. And also extend a warm welcome to our international and interstate visitors. And of course, I extend my gratitude to the organizers, the chair, for organizing this function. Today, the summit has the opportunity to write a new and exciting chapter in Australia and China economic partnership. To begin with, Australia and China has already established a strong foundation. China and Australia, China is the largest trading partner of Australia since 2009. For decades, Australian resources have helped power China's extraordinary growth, while Chinese demand has been a cornerstone of Australia's economic prosperity. From iron ore to natural gas, from education to tourism, from wine to lobsters, our ties have created millions of jobs and improved living standards of both nations. While we celebrate the strong foundation, there are many new opportunities. I would say at least I would go forward with 3 immediate potential. First, the green transition. Australia is poised to be a renewable energy superpower. Australia can supply the critical minerals such as lithium for batteries, produce green hydrogen, and collaborate on clean technology. China's expertise in manufacturing and deploying solar, wind, and electric vehicles is unparalleled. Together, Australia and China can be a powerful force in the global fight against climate change. Second, the digital and innovation economy, from agriculture to fintech and from artificial intelligence to healthcare, the 2 countries are hubs of creativity. We can foster greater collaborations between our startups, renewable research institutions, and tech giants to develop the solutions for the challenges of the next coming century. Third, services and consumers. As China's middle class continue to grow, so does the demand for high-quality services, be it in healthcare, aged care, financial services, or premium Australian food and wine. This is a deep and enduring opportunity. To seize these opportunities, we must continue to build for a favorable environment for business. As our previous speaker mentioned, Australia wants to do a lot of business, but a lot of policy are very restrictive. This requires ongoing dialogue, open communication, and a commitment to the rules-based trade that has served us well. It is through understanding, through people-to-people exchanges, and through a spirit of constructive partnership that we will unlock our full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, the partnership between Australia and China is built on a solid past, but its greatest value lies in the future. Let us use this summit not just for discussion, but as a springboard for action. Let us commit to exploring these new frontiers together with optimism and a shared commitment to prosperity. Australia and China and their people. Thank you.
Thank you so much， 非常感谢您的致辞。好的，那么下面让我们有请徐启成老师，来自澳洲讯报集团总裁太平绅士为我们致辞。Let's welcome him to give us a speech. Welcome.
欢迎大家 ，Welcome everyone. It is my honor to help the set up 2025, the 5th China-Australia Economic and Trade Forum. I really appreciate all our overseas Chinese friends and company to this event. I also appreciate everyone from Australia, particularly from Victoria, to attend this function, especially all our VIP guests. Today we will have a panel regarding the important issue and industry to discuss about the future direction of economic and trading. Also start from this to build up a long-term friendship and success. Finally, I'd like to wish all our overseas Chinese friends as well as our local leaders and business people have a wonderful, healthy, and wealthy life. Thank you. 今天我非常荣幸能够帮忙组织第5届中澳经贸论坛，首期在墨尔本举行，为远道以来的中国代表团能够与本地或侨领和乡界的精英一同探讨中澳经贸日后的发展的大方向，并增进双方的友谊，一起向大成功迈进。最后，祝海外代表团和本地的各精英都健康快乐，生意兴隆，万事如意，心想事成。谢谢。
好的，非常感谢您的致辞 ，Thank you for your speech。那么下面让我们有请中联重科澳新西兰区总经理张欣为我们致辞。Let's welcome.
Zunai. I'm really appreciate Ms. David giving me this precious opportunity to give a short speech here. I'm Zhang Xin, you can call me John. I'm the Managing Director of Zunai, Australia and New Zealand, which is the local subsidiary of Zunai Group. Our parent company, Zunai, is one of the top 10 construction machinery manufacturer in the world. We producing all kinds of construction machinery, including mobile cranes, tower cranes, excavators, moving equipment, etc. We also produce agricultural equipment and mining equipment, and also aerial working platforms. We also provide financial leasing service in Australian market. This subsidiary is established in Australia in 2008. So we were already here for 17 years. We serve the construction sectors for Australian market, and I hope we can also serve the mining industry in this country as well in the future. Because I'm new to this market, I just moved from UK to be in charge of the Australian market. So I'm eager to learn the country, know more about the market, and know more the people. And I'm very happy to be here to make friends with you. And hope this summit has a great success. Thank you.
感谢，非常感谢您的精彩致辞。接下来，让我们掌声有请长沙曼达润企业管理咨询有限公司总经理周方舟先生致辞。有请，周方舟女士致辞。有请。
Ladies and gentlemen, 女士们、先生们，早上好。Good morning. My name is Zoe. 周方舟. To keep everybody in mind, my Chinese name Zoe. 周方舟 means ark from the Bible. Yeah, to help the people. That's how my parents want me to do. Well, after all the speeches, especially Bruce, so inspiring, which makes me forget what I'm going to say about. So I'm going to give you some keywords. Something new, something old, platform, and also investment and market. I come from Changsha Mandarin Consulting, which is the support organizer of this summit today. And talking about something new and something old, I must talk about the city I was born and raised. It's called Changsha. Changsha is a city lasted for 2,000 years. Talking about something new first, allow me. Something new. Changsha is a city full of young generations, over 10 million young generation, which is under 30s. With that, if you go to the street of the Changsha, the traffic light, the shape of the traffic light is the shape of a heart. There's a Western saying, remember this moment that takes your breath away, which means keeps your heart beating. That is Changsha. But everything has two sides, which means Changsha is a city, 24 hours will have traffic jam. Once I go back home, which is at 2 a.m. in the morning, there's a traffic jam. In a good way, very vital. In a bad way, well, your heart beating too fast, well, it's not that healthy enough. Talking about something old, Changsha has a university lasted for over 10,000 years. It was called Yellow Academy, now it's called Hunan University. I love this place because I was born and raised there. So does my mother and my grandfather as well. Talking about something new and something old reminds me of match meeting and wedding. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. Not about wedding, but because of the platform. It's my second time within 1 month visiting Australia. Last time, I talked to Mr. David Joe, and he told me that Australia is a wonderful place. I've known him for over 8 years. And he told me it's a wonderful place. And he said, do you want to visit? I said, yeah, I want to take my parents to somewhere. He said, Australia is a wonderful place, which is why 3 weeks ago I was here. And within that 2 weeks, really, David Joe told me, I'm loving it here. I do love it here. I feel it's so warm and so that in a hometown. So that's my mom said, well, I know it's not China, but I can speak Chinese here, Mandarin here, and have all kind of food here, and everyone seems so friendly to me. I know it's in a foreign country, but I feel like home. It's a really good compliment to a country or to a city. And which is why a trustworthy platform, a trustworthy person, a trustworthy government is so important. Without David Joe, as an international Australia-China association, I would never come to Australia that early. I mean, I've been to over 30 countries within past decades. Well, yeah, but I've never been to Australia. It's down under, right? Nevertheless. So, our company, and so does our platform, Mandarin Consultant, is also a trustworthy platform. We've been established over 8 years. Besides the company, our company also outsourced a government department of local government. It's called Foreign Enterprise Service Center, which is offering services for foreign companies, which is not non-Chinese companies, and also foreigners who are not Chinese in Changsha. In our place, we have over 27 international associations. David Joe's association is one of them. People call us a mini UN in Changsha. So we can meet all kinds of people from different world or regions in our platform. If chances are, do pay a visit there, you will see the traffic light with the shape of a heart. You can see something old which lasts for 10,000 years, a university. And also you can see huge market, and so does investment opportunities. Now comes to my third keyword, investment and market. As I just talked to the young gentleman next to me, that Chinese Changsha company is very urgent to merging with the rest of the world, and also does investment. One of our company in Changsha who just invested 8 billion RMB, which is roughly 1.6 Australian dollars, 1.6 billion Australian dollars in Korea by the end of 2023, and also after that invested in Morocco. Now is the biggest factory in Morocco. Besides, which is why today we also invited John from Zoom Lion, which is a pride of Hunan company, and also Mrs. Drew, the president of Lip Heavy, which also is a machinery company in Changsha. They're all searching for opportunities, not just market, technology, but also investment. So with such a nice platform and trustworthy place, and so does all this representative of the local government, I know that we're going to have a shared future. Last but not the least, come to Melbourne. It really makes me feeling at home. Do you know why? Because of the weather. The weather here is sometimes it smiles like a sunshine, like a smiling, sometimes just rain heavily, just like a woman's heart. You never know. Which is the same thing as Changsha. But something you never know, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Let's find out what's going to happen. I'm so honored to be here. I'm Zoe from Changsha Consulting. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
谢谢，我们正所谓巾帼不让须眉啊！再一次感谢周方舟女士的精彩致辞。那接下来呢，让我们有请禾子传媒的温蒂女士上台来致辞，掌声有请。
非常感谢大家，然后 Jasmine 帮我拿下我那个麦，在那个桌子上，对。 然后对，感谢大家来到这边。Thank you for everyone to coming today. And this is Wendy. I'm from MSG Media. Yeah, and very appreciate everyone like in the morning, early in the morning, 9 o'clock. Who's 9 o'clock here? Show me. Everybody know here, right? Okay, so 接下来呢，我就要用中文讲了。为什么呢？因为我怕我这个没有表达清楚我的意思哈。那我首先呢，我想感谢一下大家，因为我们这一次的活动，其实我觉得，我们的周老师特别的辛苦。而且周老师的团队呢也很辛苦，为什么这么说？因为，其实周老师这次从悉尼远道而来墨尔本，其实我特别的感动。为什么？因为我们之前做新丝绒模特大赛的时候，我们本来总决赛不是在墨尔本的，但是因为墨尔本的选手特别的多，然后呢，周会长周老师就说，Wendy， 我觉得这个我们这一次啊，就为了更好的呈现，然后让很多选手可以不飞来飞去，他们就选在了墨尔本。此处应不应该有掌声 ？Yeah, I will translate later, OK 。然后呢，我就说，其实我感动的点是什么？我觉得，因为我第一次自己做就是全澳的总新丝路大赛嘛，然后当时我就说，我说周老师，我说特别感谢你的信任啊，我也会努力的。然后呢，我就说，那么我们上午是对我们的中澳经贸博览会嘛，然后当时周老师特别可爱，他说，Wendy。他说我特别看好你，然后我就开始抖了。我说谢谢周老师信任我。我说我作为协办方，虽然我们的 logo 啊，因为我们的那个还没有到，还没贴上去啊，问题不大。但是呢，我觉得我就是招牌嘛，对不对？而且谢谢周爷。对，然后呢也邀请到了很多，我觉得真的是，每一位在场的各位都是我特别尊敬，还有就是特别喜欢的，所以呢很开心大家来到我们今天中澳经贸博览会的现场，以及我觉得我觉得大家都就是感谢了赞助商，感谢了主办方，感谢了协办方，我觉得要感谢各位到来的嘉宾。Thank you everyone to coming. Thank you. 然后呢，对这个突然跑上来是我的女儿，对，然后 anyway。对，然后我想说的是什么？就是希望大家今天可以 enjoy 现场，还有就是希望大家可以今天多交朋友，然后可以多的交流我们中澳之间的文化交流，包括我们Zoe他们是做矿业的嘛，然后前2天也联系了一些企业，交流的也很顺畅，是不是？其实墨尔本的企业真的很希望跟中国的企业，我们可以做一个2国的企业交流，这样子才能促进我们中澳的继续的更多的发展和合作。大家认同吗？认同的鼓掌，谢谢。好的，那祝福我们的澳中经贸博览会1年更比1年好，感谢大家，谢谢。
好的，谢谢我们活泼开朗的温蒂姐姐带来的精彩致辞。那湖南大美呢，深耕矿山装备与耐磨技术40周年，拥有大型的现代化生产基地，产品覆盖破碎、筛分、磨矿及高耐磨部件，广泛应用于国内外的重点工程。公司长期服务于中国建材、中铁、中交、电建等大型央企，并将产品出口至澳大利亚、美国、俄罗斯、中东、东南亚和非洲等国家和地区。湖南大美致力于成为绿色矿山整体解决方案提供商，期待借此峰会与更多的澳大利亚矿业和工程企业建立合作。那今天呢，我们也现场请到了我们湖南大美的总经理朱颂芳女士，有请。
不好意思啊，有点小紧张。大家好，我是来自湖南大美的总经理朱颂芳。我们是一家致力于矿山工程机械、破碎筛分、磨矿领域的一个矿山企业。今天来到这个会场有一点小激动。谢谢大家。我们在国内是主要是做矿山机械的，现在是致力于打造绿色矿山整体解决方案的提供商。谢谢大家。
好的，感谢。 那接下来呢，将进入到我们今天的核心环节之一——中澳经贸高峰论坛。Next, we move to one of the most important sessions of today, the Australia-China Economic and Trade Panel discussion. 今天的论坛由3位重量级嘉宾共同参与。Today's panel includes three discussion speakers. 他们分别是 Bruce Atkinson、WTC 董事总经理刘芷君女士，以及澳大利亚澳宝公司的洪总。掌声有请。
好的，那么我们本次的论坛呢，将围绕经贸合作新机遇、能源与科技发展、中澳企业出海与引进等议题展开深入的对话。The discussion will focus on topics including new opportunities in economic cooperation, and also the energy and technology development, and outbound inbound strategies for Australia, China, enterprises. So let's welcome 3 guests. Welcome them.
Back again. I think we had some really good presentations just then, and I particularly liked your discussion of including ASEAN, because what I often say to at speeches that I give is that we shouldn't just look at that bilateral trade and relationship between China and Australia, but indeed should look at working together to go out into third countries and provide the services and the products that we can collaborate on to those countries and to expand that. And certainly, as you said, the region is so large, it's our neighbourhood, it is full of opportunities. So I thought those points were really important. I wonder if you, Angela, would have a view on that as well, because obviously World Trade Center, you are dealing with a number of organisations, and indeed also China is putting manufacturing operations in some of those ASEAN countries as well. So it is an integrated situation. Do you have a view on that?
Yes, today I'm so happy to be here because I'm the manager running the World Trade Center just next to this building. So recently I filled many IMEX activity from China and many trading business between China and Australia. Of course, I feel a very good opportunity to the Chinese people to do business here. Of course, I quite admit Anand Lim the field. That means China come from China and to Melbourne, and then they can develop their business to Asia. So I think now is exactly the time for all the Chinese people or for all the Chinese entrepreneur or the company to go global. There is a very popular word saying 出海, but I think 出海, that means you must find a place to Longding, Zhuhai. So I think Melbourne is a good city, have such a good environment here, and Longding here, and then develop their business globally, Asia, and then go global.
And not just Asia, also obviously the Pacific nations is another opportunity that we should be looking at together. And obviously Australia has a very strong relationship with countries like Fiji and the Cook Islands and Vanuatu and New Zealand, and can't leave out New Zealand, but all those countries as well, so that's important. Tell us a little bit about your business and how you see trade from your point of view.
Sure. Thank you for that. I was, like everybody else, is very honored to be sitting in this panel discussion, firstly with your first speaking, inspiring everybody else is in the room. So that opens up that big topic for today's summit, which is the relationship between China and Australia, especially in the trading business. So I'm wearing 2 hats today. The first one is the Rex Jewelry Opal. I saw my husband just walking in. That's actually his business. Obviously, our family ones were co-founders. He only flew in from Shanghai Import Expo. That's why he's just landed straight from one stop to the others. So for that part, I'm very much welcoming this relationship in the trading. Opal is a very small rock in Australian definition, but it's a national stone. I don't know if everyone in this room knows about it. So we talk about it because we're in the more than 30 years in the business, and Rob, my husband, he's lived in the mining area for 3 years and come out of it, knows lots about it. So that's the proud of this country, also in a very minor way, but very prestigious way. The Australian produce 97% of opal stone. So for that, we're very much wanting to broadcast to the whole world, including China. I know in the Western communities, like American or Europe, they know this word being a lucky stone. But for Asian country, China know that they really need to know what we have and what we're proud of. So that's one thing. So we lately, through Shanghai Import Expo, we promoted, we started last year, the first year, but we attracted the central television centers to make documentary just because this is Australian stone and it's the bridge between Australia and China that we feel culturally we need to export that into China, and China needs to bring it in to know more about Australia, not just agriculture, not just the beef and wine. We have even more things to offer to build that relationship, to get into the fashion, get into the culture. And we need to open up that door. So the relationship between the two countries, to build up the mutual bilateral relationship is benefiting both countries, culturally, industrial-wise, technology-wise. So that's one side of it. The second hat I'm wearing, I'm an architect also by practice, more than 30 years. In Sydney, I come from Sydney, we both come from Sydney-based company. So architecture, that's my day-to-day job. We very much get involved in the building industry. As you all probably know, the relationship has a large impact for the last few years, until everyone this morning was saying, yes, we're getting better this year, where we have all the leadership exchanging, visiting and communication last year since, but years before we were suffering greatly. We all know that the challenge between the two parties, the politics, and gets involved, that has large impact and challenge for the building industry, right from productions and materials, labor cost, and the modern technologies. And China, as you mentioned in one of your chapters, Chinese has the greatest, or including Asia, but particularly China has the greatest production capacities, resources, and high technologies are producing the building material, particularly in the way of doing, in the innovative materials such as screen they put together. And interesting enough, in Shanghai Expo, that was there a few days ago, the store next to us, they produce this large, very green, environmental free materials for the interior fit-outs, such as bench top wood, claddings and things. And amazing enough, those materials are environmentally free. They are recycled and reused materials. They can shape into all sorts of colors and patterns. And interesting enough that, you know, Guangzhou is right now hosting the national sports. Those big, you know, the little puppies, the two, what they call the lucky wawa, they're made out of them. They're made out of those materials, standing there representing the luck to the event. So all these things we are not seeing them in Australia. And all we're saying, we ban these for because it's not environmental. We constrain that because of changing of the fire rating. There's a lot of one of the talks about the government here has a lot of restriction rather than welcoming policies to encourage those materials come through from overseas that benefiting this country due to the resources, lack of the resources. So without further ado, I point out these two areas that we urge the state government to come on board, to be more friendly, to open up more, to allow these materials to come to help Australia, to building the estates. That's the biggest part that economically help this country to grow more. Thank you.
Opals are a magnificent stone. They are the most beautiful stone because they've got very different colours. They've got pinks and blues and greens all in the one stone, and they sparkle, and black opals and all sorts of white opals. It's a magnificent stone, so you're absolutely right about the opportunities. One of the things I just quickly want to say is that some people in Australia, I think too many Australian companies are risk averse. We've got some very significant companies with great resources and enterprise value and so forth, who just focus on Australia and buy up other Australian companies rather than look overseas. And one of the interesting things is that so many of them think, my product won't work in China. There are two products that I think illustrate the changes in China and the opportunities. One of them is coffee. 10 years ago, very little coffee drunk in China. And yet today, Luckin is now the biggest retail shopfront organisation in the world. They've surpassed McDonald's in terms of the number of shops that they have, and coffee is being drunk. Drunk sounds like a dreadful word,
very popular now.
But it is extraordinarily popular. The other one is red wine. I mean, in the past, China, you would have thought about taking your wine to China and you'd think, nobody drinks red wine here. And yet today, red wine is a significant growth opportunity in China today. Australia's obviously a major player in that, but so too are other countries around the world. So, changing markets, changing tastes, changing opportunities are always there. You would see that in terms of, again, some of those ASEAN nations and the sort of changes that are occurring in their lifestyles, their expectations and aspirations, and certainly the sorts of products that they're looking outwardly for now.
Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, Australia has a tertiary economy. Basically, we are not focusing on the manufacturing sector. For obvious reasons that our cost of production is always much higher than China or ASEAN region. So, rightly say, we have to look at our own products that is Australia, that is unique and uniquely different. In fact, Australia is like the white Asian in the Asian region. And this is where we often stress on the importance of how we can export some of our products that are not found in ASEAN or even in China. And this is our strength. And I think we are very well positioned because the quality that we produce is far above better than any part of the world. Even like our beef is all carefully and abattoir, and therefore we attain very high health standards. And even the cheese products is now, in the past, as what our Honorable Bruce has mentioned, that you never find coffee in China.
coffee is not a drinking culture in China, but now through Lucking everywhere in China, you drink coffee. And just coffee alone, you have 1.4 billion people in China. We have only half of it drink coffee. It's more than enough. It's tons of money you're going to make. So that's why we always emphasize on B2B, business to business rather than to G to G. G to G always emphasize on policies and formulations, and it takes years for things to take place. But here we are in a position of to capture those markets in China, in ASEAN. From the Australian perspective, I think we are there. For example, pizzas have never been eaten. I'm sure pizzas is only eaten 10 years ago in China, and so is McDonald's. Got popular over the last 20 years, and I think we have our own kind of producers that if we can uniquely position ourselves in China, in ASEAN, this will be a great opportunity from the Australian perspective. And this is something which I think we need to capture. Otherwise, we will be always we will be having lots of summit and we will be repeating the same thing. So what I'm trying to stress is that we need to be able to identify what we have and position ourselves, and with the help of the Australian government, and I'm sure we can encourage those trade policies to be much favorable to our position.
You're absolutely right on some of the restrictions. I mean, you know, there has been some attempt to improve, for instance, the visa system, but there's no doubt that the visa system, you know, over the last, say, 8 years or so, has been broken in Australia. It was a disaster. Obviously, COVID was a factor, but that's not the only factor. And I hope that this government, federally now, really focuses on that visa situation. I mean, even having the cap on students is a nonsense, because what I say about students, foreign students that come to Australia, is that inevitably, if they've had an education here, they go back to their own countries into leadership positions in government or in business or in NGOs or whatever, and they understand Australia. They are a tremendous bridge going forward, as much as an export market for us at this time. So it is very short-sighted for us to be limiting student visas. They're not competing for the same houses or same accommodation as families here. It's a totally different market, and it's ridiculous. And certainly some of the other restrictions as well, as you've mentioned, I think that was a very good point you made, and we do need to work on that. Technology is one of the areas that's actually been hampered by some of those restrictions. We all recognise that technology gives us tremendous benefits, but at the same time we're a little nervous about where it's going. I mentioned AI in my address. We're a bit nervous about where it's going and what impact it's going to have even on employment levels and so on and so forth. Technology is your area. Tell us a little bit about where you see things are and where you see them going in the future, particularly in the context of China-Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. Bruce, thank you for the introduction there. I work in the technology areas where I run business in AI, cybersecurity, and new energy, like renewable energy, solar, and hydrogen kind of businesses. So, but before I move there, I want to echo to what Bruce had just said there. The freedom of people's movement is very important, in particular in the context of global trade, international exchanges. I wear multiple hats, like the ladies there. So one of the hats is I'm leading a cultural group called German General Commercial Association, which founded with members came from the same hometown where the gold rush area, where the people came during gold rush area, mining gold, and build the city of Melbourne and across the nation. We're still doing mining now, so that's so important, the mining business it is. But there was about arguments about people movement, where they could bring in skills, culture, in and merge the local culture and people, and from there that's many things can flood. So decades ago, we often talk about business and people in China learning technology, learning the latest development from the Western culture, Western regions. But now these days, if I move into the technology topic, we can see many technologies, they're so well developed in China, and they have the capacity and ability and willingness to go abroad, to go into a country like Australia where there's a stable political system, there are a mature understanding of culture advancement, and there are the willingness to invest and consume of those products. So that's why I believe through this platform and many other platforms like this, there are many things that can be done, in particular around the technology, about people exchanges to change ideas and to also encourage each other's progress there. Going back to the technology, particularly in AI, I think there's a certain nerves about who's leading the race and whether or not that should be the right leader in a particular argument. But I think, in my experience, throughout my experience in technology over many decades, I think technology itself can progress in regardless of what political influence there might be. It's just the nature of the technology, that's the nature of a human being, that we're always looking for something that can lead us to a better life, a better living environment, and better social status. And technology is one of those driving factors for us moving forward. AI, inevitably, is a very hot topic these days. There are many aspects or angles we can look into AI. I think on the one hand, we can look into the benefit it can bring to our life as regular, ordinary people, the benefit it can bring to the business we are doing, whether it can add productivity, save costs, help improve efficiency, and so on and so forth. So you might have heard about concept about AI agent, which is someone or something that can help you do some of, if not all of those boring jobs, like writing documents and so on and so forth. So many other things AI can help us. University in Melbourne and in Australia, like what Bruce and other guest speakers have mentioned, that in Melbourne we have the extreme facility and ability in the medical researchers. And there are attempts at the moment using AI to look into developing drugs. I mean, not the illicit drug, but the pills and medicine can help improve our life. So those are attempts are making good progress. Monash University is setting up AI computing center, looking into that area as well. So that would help us to identify the new drugs that could help improve our lifespan in a much quicker time. So that is unheard of. And it's something that will benefit the whole society, not just individuals, for the effort of the researchers and government support and so on and so forth. But also on the other hand, there's always concern about the risk technology like AI that might bring to us. There are many arguments around this. Some might be about, from a legal point of view, if AI did something wrong, who's responsible for it? There's no definitions right there. I think there should be regulation, the government that can look into to help us set up some framework and guidelines so that business entrepreneurs, they can feel comfortable in doing business in using AI and such. But there's also the other hand, the other argument it's about security, data security, privacy, when you feed data to train AI agents, have you had enough policies and guidelines in place to make sure those sensitive data is not beyond control of your hand? In Australia, we also have government policies and rules that detailing that certain data, sensitive data like personal identifiable data, cannot live beyond the border of Australian soil. So this is something I think I would encourage entrepreneurs and business doing business in the technology to think about, to also have more discussion with representatives from governments and other community leaders to form good understanding. I think that from there we no doubt we have good ideas to come out of it.
One of the interesting things for our international visitors to think about is that Victoria is actually the most globally focused of the states in Australia. It's the one that actually looks out at opportunities around the world, and we've got 23 business offices spread right around the world in countries. 5 of those are actually in China. So there's a tremendous platform to support, as well as Austrade, which of course is the federal government's trade and investment arm. There is already a platform there to support investment back into Australia. And when you get here, there are organisations like the World Trade Centre, your Chamber of Commerce, Australian China Business Council, the China Chamber of Commerce of Australia, you know, and a number of actual organisations like Shanghai Chamber of Commerce and Jiangsu Chamber of Commerce and so on. Tremendous platforms to support inward investment into Australia. So that's very much, I think, worth remembering when we're looking at the level of confidence that we can have in an investment market. We've all said something, I've said too much. Are there any questions at all? And I'm going to have a quick guest speaker in a moment too, so tell your husband to prepare himself.
Get ready.
I just want you in a few minutes to tell us a little bit about the Shanghai investment, CIIE. And what your impression of it was this year, because I think it was bigger and better than ever before, and Australia had a big pavilion there, or not a big pavilion, but a good representation. I think it was more than 100 companies were represented.
200, over 200. I came back as well, 2 days before.
Right, forget your husband, we'll use you. Are there any questions at all for any of the members of the panel, first of all? Anybody got a burning question? No? Okay, tell us a little bit about CIIE.
Sure, I'll say a few things if he has anything to add. So it was amazing. Like you said, I was eye-opened walking into that area. They have 8 pavilions, calling pavilions. Each of those 8 is bigger than Sydney's ICC. I don't know about Melbourne, pardon me, I don't know the reference sizes, but the whole point is big and great. Australian, like you say, Australia has organised a big group. I think just about 200, just a bit under 200 that went with the Australian group. That collection of product from all states, New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, Perth and all that. So the bigger pavilion Australia has set up, it's in number 7, which is the agriculture. So that has presented all of our amazing food and beverage products right across the board, from salmon, beef, wine, lots of different wines, from Victoria, from Adelaide, from Tasmania, amazing cheese products, foods, and what else, honeys and nuts and all sorts. So that presents a huge Australian resources to Shanghai, not just China, because there are hundreds of countries come to that. So they visited each other's pavilions. They enjoyed and they receive a lot of information and productions from each of the countries. Australia stands very strong in that pavilion. The population that turns out, I don't know how many, 500,000, I lost numbers, I'm an architect, I'm not very good at numbers. So huge, it means big to me. So that says something. That says that Australia needs Chinese market, and China, in that particular aspect, needs Australians product because people enjoy the wine. Wine's got one of the best qualities in that pavilion there. Many different brands. I watched some of them. Many of them have signed a contract with the local business operators to import largely in that. The other big factor is the health product. You know, the health product, the supplements and things. There's quite a few of my close friends are doing researches here in Australia and send their product to China, which is a huge market. Apart from that, we do have other innovative products like the design, the branding products, like ourselves, the Opal Palace Way. This time we're second years in the import-export. We were placed among the highest end product next to LVs and what other big names, TSCA. So that, again, I was amazed by you how much you know about Opal, about the colors. Not many people know that. So Opal is one of the top 6 jewelries in the world, and that is the only unique one that carries on fire that came out of our backyard, our back desert area, right down from the tip of the center of the soil, carries that natural rainbow fire. Red being the most rare. So this time we managed to bring our best top collection to the import-export CIE, and we have attracted large attention from the branding sectors down to what we can produce, because that's amazing fires, big rocks, and the story. So I do believe with this Shanghai Expo, it sets a great platform annually, every year, that brings the connection between both directions. One is for us to promote the product that we're proud of, we have rich resources with. The other is to understand what other country has that we can bring it back in. Is there anything you can add?
Any closing remarks, particularly on how we engage more smoothly between the two?
I think the long, we have been discussing for so long, is that one thing for sure, the summit wants to move forward, that is to encourage trade between two countries and the region. Maybe Bruce has the inroads to some of the politics, is that to not view foreign investment as suspiciously, but to welcome foreign investment as something positive and not suspicious. Whatever, even in technology, in trade, whatsoever. Because that's generally the perception of how the Chinese community view the Australian foreign policy seems to be biased towards certain angles, and it should be opened up without any suspicions. Of course, with some restrictions on security, but nevertheless, when it comes to trade, it should be opened up.
It's good.
If I may just add one more remarks there. I think from what I heard from all the guest speakers and from the conversation carried from the room here is we all believe between China and Australia we are positioning ourselves in actually not a competitive way, but more a complementary and mutually beneficial position. I think that's the greatest position we will have compared to the relationship with other countries, whether it's from Australia or from a China point of view. I think this is a great relationship we can all leverage it and be able to harvest the great outcome of it.
And whilst we need to tackle those government restrictions and get policy settings more attractive for investment from China in particular, but some of those restrictions apply to other countries as well, and Australia does need to review its policy settings. But one of the key things, I think, that the logistics of our relationship are actually pretty good. The number of flights that we have into Australia now, and particularly to Melbourne and Sydney each week, make doing business easy. And the fact that there's such a short time frame gap in terms of the time zones also makes it easy to do business compared with particularly Australia doing business with Europe or with North America or such like. So, you know, those sorts of logistical things are actually very good. Do you know, I spent yesterday in the garden. I'm sort of a bit warm today from all the work that I had to do. And I thought several times during yesterday, I think I should go to China and see if they've got a robot that does gardening.
They do.
I know we've got a robotics, I know they've got lawnmowers, but I've got 2 alpacas, so I don't need lawnmowers. But, you know, robotics is another area. I know there's a gentleman in the room who's involved with particularly cooking appliances and so forth, and hospitality industry, robotics and so forth. Another great field extending on, and in many cases using AI as part of the work that those robots are capable of doing to produce products, particularly in key areas like pharmaceuticals, which is, again, as I said earlier, one of our Melbourne strengths, but China could well do some of the production, and we could do very well out of that. Do you know, every time I go to China, I am absolutely inspired, some of it by the architecture. I think some of the buildings in China, particularly public buildings like museums and libraries and so forth, they're just absolutely inspiring. And I'm also depressed. And I'm depressed because Australians are not getting off their bottoms and being more productive and recognising China's leadership in a number of areas and how we might collaborate with China for even better outcomes. So, as I said, when I go, I'm inspired and depressed at the same time, every time I go, but the future is very, very bright for both of our countries, and particularly for our bilateral relationship and our multilateral relationship in terms of other markets like ASEAN, like the Pacific, and even, for that matter, given the age profile, Africa. So, great opportunities. Philip, thank you. We'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce.
Please hold on here, and thank you very much for all our panel guests. What I'd like to do is I'd like to invite firstly all our Chinese representative as well as the senior representative come over first, take photo together with you all, and after that all our invited guests, if you'd like to take a photo, come over as well, okay? Yeah, thank you very much. So firstly, can I invite all our Chinese delegates as well as the Sydney good friend, come first.